What's good with the YouTube or convict's perspective? It's your boy Big Flacco, smashing, dashing, sliding on through as always with a little bit of energy. Let's get it cracking, people. I hope everybody's having a positive, blessed day as always, man. And we're gonna get straight to it, man. Pelican Bay, murder in the cell. Rojo, get to it.
All right, man. This is actually from straight up. This is from an appeal for Pedro Ramirez, the people plaintiff respondent versus Pedro Ramirez, Del Norte County. And the summary is defendant killed his cellmate at Pelican Bay State Prison and was convicted of second-degree murder and assault by a life prisoner. On appeal, he contends the trial court erred by permitting evidence regarding the circumstances of his previous murder conviction, as well as failing to give the proper limiting instruction. He also complains of sentencing error, and the parole revocation restitution fine should be stricken. Anyway, the court found him he's burnt. Anyway, but man, we're gonna get to the good part of it, man. The defendant was serving 50 years to life sentence for a 2000 conviction of first-degree murder with the firearm enhancement. He was an inmate of Pelican Bay State Prison, and since early 2016, Neil Ramirez had been his cellmate. Correction officers Michael Nation and John Joseph testified they had never heard either defendant or Neil complain about the other inmate. Further, they were unaware whether the defendant and Neil had ever fought or yelled at each other. Finally, neither inmate had requested a change of cells or made a written request for a housing change. On the morning of January 30th, 2017, officers Nation and Joseph were delivering breakfast to the inmates. Officer Nation delivered breakfast to the cell on the lower tier, which included the defendant's and Neil's cell 118. The light was on in cell 118, which indicated that the occupants wanted food. Defendant was waiting at the door for Officer Nation, and Neil was awake and sitting on the upper bunk in a squatting position. The inmates behaved normally, and there was no indication of anything unusual. Officer Nation continued delivering breakfast to the next section of cells. All the doors between the sections were open, but neither Officer Nation or Officer Joseph heard screams for help or signs of scuffle or noises like a fight. Approximately 25 minutes after Officer Nation delivered the breakfast trays to cell 118, he returned to collect them. The defendant was standing at the door with both trays. The trays were clean, as if they had been washed. The defendant appeared normal and calm. However, Neil was lying on his back on the floor. His head and torso were covered with a jacket, and there was blood on his shorts and legs. Officer Nation cuffed the defendant and called for Officer Joseph. The two of them removed the defendant from the cell and placed him in a holding cell. The defendant appeared calm and did not look as though he had been in a fight. Officer Nation and Joseph had defendant remove his clothing, and they checked him for injuries. The defendant was uninjured, but for a bruise in the middle of the back of his right hand and a cut or scratch on his left index knuckle. The defendant had small drops of blood on his shoes, but not on his shirt or pants or his person. Several other correctional officers responded to a reported medical emergency. They observed copious amounts of blood throughout the cell. Neil was not breathing and had no pulse. His head was covered in blood, severely misshapen and caved in.
Wow.
There was an indented line along the back of Neil's head showing he was up against something while he was being hit or kicked. A shelving unit in the cell was consistent with the marks on Neil's head. Neil also had significant bruising around his neck. He also had bruises on his chest and multiple injuries to his mouth. Officers administered CPR, but Neil never responded. He was declared dead by an ambulance crew that arrived at the prison shortly thereafter. Multiple officers noted the defendant appeared calm after the incident. Officer Miller testified the defendant was very stoic, calm, unusually calm. When Officer Miller provided the defendant water to prepare for the collection of a urine sample, the defendant spontaneously said, "There was no other issues between us. It was just an in-cell thing. It was personal." Officer Miller did not ask any follow-up questions, but he understood the defendant meant to distinguish this incident from gang-related activity. Investigating officers found the blood splatters in the cell indicated a lot of trauma had been inflicted on Neil while he was near the bottom of the cell. There was a pink tinge hand towel in the sink, which appeared to have been used to wash off blood. In a box by the lower bunk was a folded pillowcase that appeared to have been hidden and had striations where it was twisted and pulled tight. Officer Miller believed the pillowcase had been used as a weapon. Based on the striations and the blood patterns on the pillowcase, it was apparent that it had been rolled up while getting bloodied. Otherwise, the objects in the cell were nice and orderly. Nothing was in disarray. Officer Miller, who had responded to hundreds of cell fights, testified that if there had been a struggle, stuff should have been scattered around inside the cell and wasn't. None of the inmates in the adjacent cells to the left or right of cell 118 or the two cells above cell 118 saw or heard anything on the morning of the fight. The parties stipulated, of course they didn't hear nothing. The parties stipulated to admission of the coroner's autopsy report, which stated the cause of death was asphyxiation due to external compression of the neck, otherwise known as strangulation. The autopsy also found blunt force trauma to the head and chest. And it goes on to break down, his whole case. He was 17 when he was arrested, been in prison much of his life. He had always gotten along with his cellmates. Him and Neil were from the same town and decided to cell up together. They got along well.
What town?
Huh?
What town were they from?
It hasn't said yet. I'm briefly going through this to see what we can get. Neil just woke up having a bad day. The defendant usually talked to Neil to try to get him to mellow out. It had happened several times. About a month or two before the date he was killed, the defendant and another inmate, Julian Rocha, spoke in the yard and agreed to move in together. They verbally asked a few officers and a sergeant about moving, but they got the runaround. On the night of January 29th, the defendant and Neil watched the Miss Universe pageant and were getting along well. Everything was normal. But as soon as they woke up, the problem had started. The defendant washed himself, then began to prepare to clean the cell as he did nearly every morning. Neil did not fold his bedclothes as usual, but just sat there. Defendant offered to help Neil roll up his bedclothes, but Bill said, "Fuck you, motherfucker, I'm not doing shit. And if you want this cell clean from now on, you clean. You can't be using language like that. You need to chill. Man, fuck you, you're not my homie." Very interesting. Why aren't we moving forward here? Bear with me 1 second. There we go. Neil blocked defendant from the sink and started clenching his fists with hands at the waist. Defendant again tried to talk Neil down. Neil replied, "I don't give a fuck, all right?" Defendant told him to unclench his fist. Neil said, "Or what? What are you going to do about it?" Then he came at me. The defendant dropped Neil, kicking him to the ground. The defendant testified, "When you drop somebody, you don't hit or kick them while they are down. You know what I mean?" Neil got up and was swinging wildly, and the defendant hit him repeatedly in the head and neck. Neil kept getting knocked down, but he kept getting back up and coming at the defendant, screaming and whining like he was winning the fight. I'm reading this word for word, guys. Defendant told Neil, "Hey, man, you are leaking blood already. You are leaking everywhere. Just chill out." Neil said, "I don't give a F, and mother effer watch." I can't keep dropping too many F's or they'll ban the video. That's why I'm talking like this. But Neil continued to attack the defendant. The defendant continued to knock Neil down at least 6 times. The defendant testified that when Neil fell, he most likely hit the locker, hit the stool, probably hit the desk. I don't know. Eventually, he stopped moving. The defendant checked Neil's chest and nose and yelled, "Man down," several times. No one responded.
That's normal.
Yeah, it is.
A lot more normal than people think.
I've never seen it in Pelican Bay personally, but I don't disclaim it. But this sounds like it was on the main line. You know what I mean? So it hasn't really stipulated if it was in the SHU or A or B yard. So let's see. Neil continued to the fact that eventually Neil stopped moving. Defendant put a blanket and jacket over Neil because he didn't want to look at him. Then he sat on a toilet and realized he had gone too far in fighting Neil. He began cleaning the cell because he didn't want to just sit there thinking about this stuff. The defendant denied that he had choked Neil and said he had no intent to kill or even hurt him. He explained that his pillowcase was wrinkled because he had hand washed items that did not dry properly due to poor ventilation. The defendant recalled that the look on Neil's face during the fight was the same look on the face of a man who had shot the defendant when he was 15 years old. Defendant stated some of the blood in the cell was because he had a bit of a nosebleed. On cross-examination,
Sorry.
on cross-examination, the defendant stated he had repeatedly asked officers Nation and Joseph for a cell move. He admitted that at a certain point in the fight, he continued hitting Neil, even though Neil had been knocked to the ground. He denied attacking Neil first or from behind. He denied stomping on Neil's head and chest and said he stopped punching Neil when Neil stopped moving. He explained that he took off his bloody clothes and put on new ones and then cleaned the cell because he was just doing things to keep busy as he was stressed out about the incident that had just happened. The pillowcase was in a box that was for trash, and the styrations on it were from wringing out and getting washed. He denied cleaning the breakfast trays. The defendant demonstrated for the jury the volume with which he called man down, which was pretty loud when Officer Nation came up pick up the breakfast trays. The defendant didn't say anything because he was zoned out. Rocha testified that he was in prison for voluntary manslaughter and attempted murder. The defendant approached Rocha a month or two before the incident, and they agreed and to request to be cellmates. Rocha was not sure if they had made the request in writing, but he asked up to 6 different officers about moving. On cross-examination, Rocha acknowledged that he did not come forward with information until after receiving a letter from the defendant's counsel. This is
Wait, hold on.
I was only going to read part of this, but this is great, bro.
Hold on. You and I both know you're not going to ask 6 officers if it's okay to move these guys into a cell. Come on now.
Well, the thing is, when you want a cell move and you're trying to get it done, you're going to ask every cop that's on shift, I would think. Because some are lazy, some are cool, so you ask everybody.
No. Didn't it just say the officer asked 6 other officers if it was a smart move?
That his homeboy Rocha had asked 6 different officers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to ask everybody. Like, if we're trying to get something done, this pair of cops that come in, they might be lames, they might not like us. The next 2 might be cool. Somebody's going to do it eventually, you know? Anyway, man, let's see. Additional facts. Hold on. What else do we got? The prosecution motive, the motion. Bear with us 1 second. Here, you know what? I'm actually going to pause this for 1 second, YouTube. Hey, all right, YouTube. My apologies, man. This is a real long case, and I wasn't intending to read this whole case, man, but it was way better than I thought it was. But the ultimate disposition of this, and we're going to talk about what goes down real quick, but the judgment is modified as described in this opinion to reflect that the sentence imposed on count 1 is 15 years to life, doubled under section 667 subdivision to 30 years to life, plus the 5-year prior serious felony enhancement, and that is all stayed. The trial court is directed to prepare an amendment, abstract of judgment reflecting these modifications and forwarded to the Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. In all other respects, the judgment is affirmed. So everything that happened. He got found guilty, whatnot. All of his other previous prior convictions were affirmed, and that's that, man. But Flacco, what do you think about that, bro?
You know, the first thing that you know, for the listeners out there that are listening, cell fight. You know what I'm saying? When you get into a cell fight with someone, right, and there's no correctional staff that are within distance, or you know what I mean, that are doing their counts, or I mean, there's a lot of commotion sometimes in prisons at times. You know, a lot of noise, different things that occur. If you're in a cell, I'm thinking if I'm put in a position to where me and a cellie get into it, where it gets physical. Under every scenario I could play out, I don't think any of us are going to stop. Period. Because the moment you back up off an issue, that person becomes an immediate threat. That's the first thing that goes through my mind. You know what I'm saying? I think his story was kind of, you know, I mean, it's sad that a person was killed, man, but kind of entertaining. He almost sounds like he's a sociopath, bro. Like no emotions, no feelings about the scenario, and his excuses that he gave. I had a nosebleed, and you know what I mean. I don't know, man. I think these situations. What I take from it is this: when you get up in a cell, You know what I'm saying? You never know what type of individual you're living with. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're a homeboy, Norteño or Sureño, or aligned with the Whites or Crips or Bloods or whatever they may be aligned with, right? It's not uncommon for them to put you in a cell even with someone that's not affiliated. And just because someone's not affiliated doesn't mean that they ain't got no weirdo tendencies or sociopaths or psychopaths up in the cell. And at any given moment, you don't know what may trigger them to act in a certain way. I've heard stories of people who are just straight normal as hell, right? And the next thing you know, they take a certain action towards someone, man. Next thing you know, someone's dead. And you look at them, you think they're as normal as hell, but they're just strictly a sociopath. You know what I mean? Once the opportunity arises, you know what I mean, they take that action. And in this guy's action, the way that the cops explain it, right? You know, I know for myself, if I was in a cell and I hurt someone, I whacked them, I'm still going to be fidgety. I'm still going to have that adrenaline. I'm still going to have that rush. I'm not going to act all calm and collected like nothing happened because there's a dead man in my there's a dead man in the cell, man. And I know I'm going to be charged for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
It ain't like somebody snuck in the cell, you know what I'm saying? And I take my statement back that it wasn't in the shoe. I didn't know. It obviously was because of the way they described how they were passing out the trays. It just didn't dawn on me right.
It could have been on lockdown too, brother. They could have been on lockdown.
But the way they said they left all the doors open to the units, you know, that would be A pod, B pod, C, D, E, and F. That's what I think. I'm pretty sure it was actually in the shoe. You know what I mean? If you wanted
but level 4 designs are the same way, brother. They have the different pods that they go through with they open the corridor doors to go into each pod. In a 180 design, Pelican Bay has that 180 design. So it may be a shoe, but it could be a level 4 too, though.
Wouldn't they be sectioned off with cages though, where it wouldn't matter if the door was opened or closed, or would they actually be doors?
What do you mean?
You think they would just be the screen cages that separate and inside of the facility, inside of the building itself?
No, they have walls, bro. They have walls, bro, like this. They're like pods, bro.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been.
Level four 180s have actually pods, bro. Like your day room is a pod. It's because they're high level inmates. Like you go to a level 3, you have the whole it's all open.
Yeah.
You go to a level 4, it'll be sectioned off into 3 areas. Bam, bam. You know what I mean?
Left, right, and straight, basically from the guard.
Yeah. Different facility. I don't know. I've only been to a couple, and that's how they operate. You know, as far as I'm not sure if the Pelican Bay is like that, but I'm sure it's going to be the same there. You know what I mean? It almost looks like a Corcoran shoe. I mean, I've been to Salinas Valley. Salinas Valley had that opening. I'm almost positive. You know what? I may be wrong. You know what I mean? I'm almost positive, man. I'm tripping right now, man. If I'm not mistaken, they have different sections off. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong on that, brother, but I'm almost positive they have different pods. You know what I'm saying? I've been in a 180 yard in the shoe when I was going on the courtesy pro, and I'm almost positive that they had different sections. And I don't know. I could be wrong, bro. It's been so long, man.
I had level 4 points, but I was never actually on the 4, man. I always got a level 3 override, man, and then I got validated, so it didn't matter how many points I had anyway. So I haven't seen none of those funny ones. I've only seen the normal ones, you know, the normal 180s that don't have no restrictions. You know, like in the hole, you know, in Susanville, they had the little gates that separated, like a little fence kind of with a gate, but it wasn't like doors or something. You know what I'm saying? And that which really didn't make no sense. It's like, you know, the only thing that would prevent would be an error in the guard tower opening multiple doors on multiple.
I've been on 2 180s, and I'm almost positive, bro, that they had them all separated, each like pod.
Right.
Therefore, I could be wrong though, bro. I don't remember, bro.
Hey, let us know in the comments, man. We don't remember. We're old as shit. We're older than dirt.
You know what I mean? It's. I was there on a layovers, and I remember that they took you to the hole, and that's just how it was in the hole. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, bro. I mean, I got validated really quick, real early. And so I'm thinking that
and they weren't fucking around with us back in the day, bro.
You know what I mean? I'm thinking
you're one of those Nortinos. You're getting validated.
I'm thinking the same design as if you go to Corcoran Shoe where there's 3 pods. You know what I'm saying? And I'm almost positive. I mean, I'm thinking like the 4th floor and all that too, and all that where you come out, you have your different. You know what I mean? I don't know, bro. I could be wrong on it, man. Any event, murder in the cell in Pelican Bay, bro. Shit goes down over there, bro.
Hey, I haven't seen any kind of general population anything since March of 1995. Probably January, actually, because I went to the hole on the Super Bowl. So January of 95 is the last time I seen it. So, man, my memory's kind of cloudy as well. But, yeah, cell fights, bro. You never know who you're in there with. Like me and Flacco, if we got busted tomorrow, we could go be Sully's fine. We know each other in real life. We know each other. We've been in each other's houses. We know each other's families and shit. We do fine. Same with Gunner. You know what I mean? No big deal. But man, just because somebody's from your hood, man, you don't necessarily know them on that level. He probably meant he's from his town. Hey, we're both from Oildale, brother. Why don't we sell up, stud? You know, it could have been one of them type of things, man. You know, and themselves, man, in Pelican Bay and the shoe, they're hard surfaces, man. They're hardened cement. You fall down and you hit your head, you could die, bro, from one punch, man. No problem. You hit that toilet, you hit the little fake ass desk that they got in there. You know what I mean? You could die. You know, motherfuckers work out every day. They're in prime shape for combat. You can die real easy in themselves. That could have just been a cell fight, and they could have been like, it should have been done, but somebody got killed, man. And now, dude was never going home anyway, you know. But now there's a dead person. Now there's this. Now there's that. It turned into a whole can of worms, man.
And it's happening a lot more, man. Like a lot of articles you hear about it, just on the SNY side and on the active side. People are getting killed in their cell, man. It's at Salinas Valley. I think you had 2 incidents where, I want to say, at least I know one of them for sure was in the cell, but I know there was 2 homeboys out of Contra Costa County that got killed. One for freelancing, which means he was, you know, pushing his product out there on the main line. I don't know what the other one was for, but I believe both of them were in the cell. You know what I'm saying? You've had other incidents up there in High Desert. You know, even in Mill Creek last year, there was an incident. You know what I mean? So you go into a cell, you never know what you're stepping into. You know what I'm saying? It's a very intimate environment. And what I mean by intimate, I'm not saying any funny style stuff. I'm saying you're in a cell with a grown man and you don't have that much space. So you're going to have conflict and issues that arise every once in a while. How you deal with it is different. Sometimes the prison politics will kind of refrain you from taking action, because a lot of times if you take that action, you could be deemed no good. Now, we had 2 homeboys in Corcoran's shoe, man. It was I want to say Rojo from Tula, right? And I think he was sold up, if I'm not mistaken, with Littles from Hanford. They got on that Bisto. You know what I mean? Got drunk up in the cell. Rojo beats the brakes off the Littles in the cell. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the outcome. I know one of them was on freeze and under investigation. Their drinking privileges were revoked. But, you know, anything can happen at any time. And like, let's just keep it real. If you're in prison, you're not there for being a Boy Scout. You know what I'm saying? There's some treacherous individuals. Like I said, you never know. It could be a psychopath you're in the cell with that, you know what I mean? You do something wrong. You know what I mean? Nowadays, I'm hearing stories that now people sit on the toilet to take a piss, bro. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
You know, you do the wrong thing, man. You have a bad day. You have bad gas. You know what I mean? You fart too much or something like that. Someone may take off on you, man.
Yeah.
You know, someone comes back, has a bad visit. You know what I mean? Their lady breaks up with them. You never know, man. And when you're in there, you're not just dealing with your own problems. You have to deal with the problems of whoever you're living with. You know what I'm saying? And some people are about that action in different ways. You may be that target or that subject for them to release that hate and that anger that they have inside. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Look at Rojo's laughing over there.
Nah, man, I thought of a funny story, bro, about gas, bro. There was these 2 white boys in Contra Costa County, right? And they were homies and shit, man. But I guess one of them crossed the line. He had the gas, right? You know how they clown around a little bit different. So he's putting a plastic bag over his fart box, and he's letting them fly into this plastic bag and saving them, right? He's on the top bunk, and then he puts the opening to the bag in between the top bunk and the bottom bunk and pushes it all down on his celly. And I guess it hit his celly so hard that they were chunking him good, bro. They were chunking good, bro. It was, hey, and we knew what was going down. You know, we were right next door. We heard it. And the dude who was doing the, you know, with the bag got the better of the other one, bro. But they went at it for a minute. Like, they pepper sprayed him so bad that we were in there dying with wet rags over our face and everything. But playing around, people just being in a bad mood, man, if somebody gets some bad news from home, it can cost you your life in there, man. And this is what this is why there's a lesson.
I've seen in Corcoran's shoe when I was in the regular general population, man, where the dude, you know what I mean, literally beat the brakes off his celly trying to take his cornhole. You know what I'm saying? At first, we didn't know. You know what I'm saying? You know, they took the big old incident. They came in, they did all, you know what I mean? They brought in, you know what I mean? They brought in the pepper spray, the gun, everything, and they brought one of the dudes out like basically in a stretcher. You know what I'm saying? Lo and behold, we heard the rumors from the correctional officers, man, the dude was in there trying to take his damn cornhole. You know what I'm saying? So stuff happens in prison, man. And that's a lesson for people out there, man. Like me and Rojo were talking, man. We're like, okay, we've been touching base on current stuff, gang stuff, past stuff, man, but we want to bring a message of why not to go to prison. There's no guarantee that you're going to come home, whether you're in a cell or you go to that yard. You know what I'm saying? Because shit kicks off, stuff happens, man. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a cellie, I mean, who's a psychopath, or it's a gunner that may shoot you because you take action on the yard, or whether you did something wrong and you may get stabbed in your back, anything could happen at any time in prison. And that's just the reality of it. It's a treacherous environment. You know what I mean? Up and down, you never know what's going to happen around that next corner.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't happen that often, or it's not disproportionately that you're going to get killed as somebody celly. But every day you're in an environment that's full of real people, you know, that done real crimes. Dudes in there for murder already that are never going home. They don't got nothing to lose. It's not like if they're good for, you know, 4 years, they're going home. They got those LWOPs and stuff like that, man. They don't play. They have little tolerance for the BS, you know, and it could cost you your life just if they're in a bad mood, man. So that's today's lesson, man. Avoid prison if you can, because you may not make it back. You know, everybody says it only happens in California for politics, man. There's all kinds of examples where it don't. You know, during these end of hostilities, all the killings have been within people's own group, minus the Yogi killing that we just discussed the other day. If you ain't seen that, you should check it out. It's a good video. It's a dangerous place full of dangerous people, man. And you might think you're a bad dude or whatever. Somebody gets the drop on you in one of themselves. It's real easy to slip someone around something's neck. And once you got it engaged, it's almost impossible to get out. Look at the rear naked choke in UFC. Imagine
it's
a thin
unfair,
piece of rope.
and it's an unfair situation, period, man. Because if I'm in a cell and it kicks off, bro, I'm not stopping, bro. Because I'm going to be fearing. I'm not going to fear for my life. I'd rather take his life, or almost beat him to the brink of where his life's taken, just to make sure that I'm secure. And then what am I supposed to do? Oh, hey, man, down over here? Nah, man. It is what it is, man. You know what I mean? I think it's crazy how people will sit there and whack their cellies, and then they'll sit there for a couple of days eating their food and washing everything up.
That happened, bro.
You know what I mean? Yeah, fucking Deadeye. Was it Deadeye that did that? It was, huh?
Yeah, it was the AB dude that killed the Nazi lowrider dude, bro. He strangled him to death and left him in there for like a day and a half to get his extra meals. This is what implemented the 4 o'clock institution count. In case you guys didn't know, the standing 4 o'clock count. It's this case. The cops went by, breakfast. Dude's already dead. Gave him breakfast. Came by, dinner. Already dead. Came by the next morning, breakfast. I guess dude started to have a little bit of odor. The other individual said, "Hey, Tower, we got a man down in here. My cellie's not feeling too good." He'd been dead for 40 hours.
That's happened a couple times, though. That's not the only incident, man. Like,
he was in there eating good. I was getting them double ups.
That's not the only incident, though. There's been a couple where the person was dead for a couple of days, man, and you know, it was revealed later. You know what I mean? You know, people, man, like, you never know what could happen, man. Period.
Anyway, YouTube, we know there's a lot of you guys who've done time on the joint. We're not teaching you guys nothing new, but just something to reflect on as to why you don't want to go back. Because we get out here and we get complacent. You know what I'm saying? We've been out 10 years, whatever. Start, you know, pushing the line a little farther, a little farther. Just remember, there's things like this that happen, man. Stay out of those institutions, man. It can happen on a level 1, bro. Does it often? No. Man, do you want to roll that dice? Nah, man, be out here, man. There's girls out here. There's jobs out here. There's money out here. There's all kinds of cool things to enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Keep enjoying them. You won't have to worry about these things as often. Straight up. Guess that'll do it. Your boy Rojo, Big Flacco. Stay out of people's cells. You won't get choked out.